You've heard from the consultants, you've heard from the software providers, and now you'll hear a perspective from a customer. So I'm a customer. So it was interesting having a look at the percentage of the people where they are in their journey, around 30% starting, 30% looking. That's actually consistent with what I'm seeing across Australia and New Zealand at the moment. So I suppose when you're having a look at, from a process point of view, if you can't talk about benefits to the organisation and you can't talk about benefits to your customers across these 4 quadrants, you probably need to start thinking about that as a part of why you go through this automation by your processes. Right, what am I asking before development? Governance. Okay, so one of the most important things in an organisation, and James got asked the question around should it be business-led or IT-led? I actually don't think it should be business-led or IT-led. It's got to be it's got to be owned by the organisation. It's got to be organisationally led. This type of technology is a team sport, okay? And if you don't have all the right players on the field, you're going to have problems. And one of the other questions, James got asked is around, our job's going to change. So in the last 3 months, we've trained 5 internal people up to be developers. So they're going to be champions in their own areas to develop under the guidance of my team. And that's really, really cool, because when you've got an SME who can develop, that's just gold. And this is where it's important to have a strategy of having a core team, an extended team, and an augmented option, because, in organisations you'll have peaks and troughs through the year. So, you do rely on partners to help you through that. So it's really important to have that balance. But it's also important to have partners there too, because you may come across a use case that you haven't come across, you haven't got a specialty in, and you can leverage those, companies to come in your organisation and help out. And don't get me wrong, when I talk about change management, it is fundamentally the most important thing in this whole journey. I've always said to people, when you're starting to estimate what resources you need to deliver this, whatever you put down at change management, go at the back and have a smoke and come back in and double it. Okay, because the technology, regardless of the technology platform you go to, the technology is actually the basic part. It's that change part. But it's also getting the people involved in the journey that will help that. Finding funding is always a challenge. And I think, a lot of pilots do stop at that because they're waiting for a funding life cycle. And that's why I'm a big fan of operationalise it, so you're not looking for funding. The only time you should be looking for funding is if you're wanting to increase your output or increase your delivery, it goes look for more funding to then augment, to bring more people in. That's the only time. Look at your benefit realisation and roadmap. I've got targets every quarter, right? Whether it's FTE reduction or revenue or improved customer experience, right? And have that built in with the business. So my targets, for example, FTE reduction, that actually sits in the scorecards of the business unit as well. Once again, team sport. And I'm really lucky I work for an organisation that understands the beauty of working as a team. And we do it really well. And we share the goal, we share the outcome. It's really important. Here's a case study of one that we put into production fairly quickly. So previously, before we went in, the problem was it was a 3-day SLA, okay, to turn that around. So labour intensive, manual process, SLAs, it was prone to errors as well. And our business was only Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. And this is a full manual process. So when we get emails in from the institution, or they come in and the bot will grab that, go into the system, remove the default, and then turn around and email out straight away. So we've effectively got rid of a 3-day SLA, which we did get complaints sometimes from customers that were too slow. So we actually removed that 3-day SLA to real time and 24/7. And we've taken out 100% of human intervention. But this actually really resonates to me, what I hear in the industry. Vendor strategy, integration complexity, confusion over vendor offerings. You'll have 3 vendors come and promise you exactly the same thing. And depending on your use cases, there are differences. Now, if you have a look at, James put up, UiPath, Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, they're three fantastic companies and they've got real good products. But depending on your particular use cases, you need to have a look at how you want to use it, because there are slight differences in the offerings. So you need to make sure you choose the right one for your offerings. I don't understand, and maybe I'm biased because I love the technology, why would you do a POC? There's enough evidence out in the marketplace, and enough material, enough site visits you can do to show it works. Your first implementation should make sure that you've got your technology right and your infrastructure right. That's why that should be your first point. Do your first process and make sure everything's working well. Then you can start running.